Hi everyone, this is Rosie, and today we're going to be sewing the Chatelaine purse. So let's get started. First, let's take a look at the project. This is my modern version of the Chatelaine bags that ladies carried in Victorian days. They were called either Chatelaine bags, Chatelaine purses, or Chatelaine pockets, and they were just meant to carry some small items. The purse measures approximately 6 inches wide by 4.5 inches high. When you open it up, you'll see that I've drafted the pattern in such a way that the lining fits in there absolutely perfectly. You're not going to have any bagging in that lining or any exposed seams. It does have a card slot, so you can carry a card or two with you. And it's also big enough to carry a travel size package of tissues. You can also opt to put in a 2-ounce bottle of hand sanitizer and a face mask. And on this particular version, I've added a swivel clip to clip to my belt loop. Now, it's not meant to carry any small items such as coins because they could fall out the openings in the side. In this version, I've attached a key ring to the zipper pull with a car key fob. And on this one, I just simply put on a key ring with a set of keys. So let's go ahead and get started making one of these Chatelaine purses. I will put a link in the description below the video to where you can purchase the pattern. It does come with the PDF file with all of your pattern pieces and an SVG file for cutting out your pieces on the Cricut Maker. For this project, I recommend using 100% cotton quilting fabric for both your exterior and your interior fabrics. You're going to need a fat quarter for your exterior and another fat quarter of fabric for your interior. Now, you're definitely going to have extra fabric left over with these measurements. You will also need 1/2 yard of Chatelaine SF101. This is a woven fusible interfacing. For my thread, I'm just using a general all-purpose sewing thread. This one that I have here is made by Aurifil. You will need a number 5 nylon coil zipper that's 10 inches in length. Later on in the project, after we sew this zipper in place, we will be trimming it down to size. But I don't want you to be tempted to start with a shorter zipper because it's much easier to sew this zipper in if you start with 10 inches. You will also need a zipper pull that has a little opening in the pull so that you can attach either a swivel clip or a key ring. Then you will need an end cap. This is a zipper end cap to finish off your zipper. For the hardware, you can attach whatever you like. Right here I have a 3/4 inch key ring plus a 1/2 inch swivel clip. Then I will be using some Wonder clips, and right here I have some glass head pins, and these pins actually work really well in this project. So you can use whatever you like, either the Wonder clips or some pins. You will also need a pair of scissors, a rotary cutter, along with a rotary cutter ruler and a rotary cutting mat. You'll want to have a point turner on hand. This is the one that I like to use. This one is made by Clover. And then you might want to have a seam ripper handy, and you will need an erasable marking tool. Now this one here is a friction pen, and you will see me using this, but I only use it for demo purposes. But you always want to be careful when you're using one of these pens, because even though the marks will disappear with heat, it does come back with cold. So I only use it for demo purposes. Be very, very careful if you're using one of these in your project. This project is great for using up all of your scraps of fabric. I have some scraps that I've prepared here for cutting out on the Cricut Maker. What I like to do is fuse the Chatelaine SF101 to the back of my scraps before cutting them. So I'm actually cutting out the fabric and the Chatelaine SF101 at the same time. I do use the rotary cutter blade, and I use the cotton setting, and I put on extra pressure, and I've never had any problem cutting through those 2 layers on the Maker. Starting with step 1, you should have all of your pieces cut out and interfaced. So right here I have my exterior front and back. I have my facing pieces, my lining pieces, and the extra piece that you need to cut out for the card slot pocket. Now when you interface these pieces, you want that Pellon SF101 to go all the way out to the edges. And for step one, we're going to start by marking some lines on our pieces. Right here I have one of my exterior front and back pieces, and on the wrong side we're going to mark a few lines. The first line is going to be 1/4 of an inch down from the top. Just go ahead and mark that across. And that is going to be a stitching line. Then we want to mark some lines 1/4 of an inch from each side edge. And this is going to be our guidelines for installing our zippers. Then when you're done marking that piece, you're going to go ahead and mark your facing pieces. So for these pieces, you want to mark a line 1/4 of an inch away from each straight edge. So the one on the bottom, and then the one on the top. And these two lines will be stitching lines. And then you're also going to mark in 1/4 of an inch from each edge. And again, those will be your guidelines for installing the zipper. And here you can see I've marked both of the facing pieces and both of the exterior front and back pieces. In step two, we're going to be sewing our interior pieces, and we're going to be creating the card slot pocket. I'm going to put the pocket piece aside for right now and two of these pieces. All you simply want to do is take the facing and you're going to put it right sides together with one of the lining pieces, and then you're going to clip all the way across with some wonder clips. For the opposite side of the exterior, you'll go ahead and clip everything in place just the way you did for the other side. But on this side, we're going to leave about a 4-inch opening, and we're going to use that opening to turn the purse right side out. So put some marks here to indicate where your opening is going to be. And then I like to put a few X's here, just to remind myself not to sew over this section. I'm sewing on a Juki Kokochi DX 4000 QVP. I will be following that stitching line that I drew. That is a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to use a stitch length of 2.6. And on this side of the interior, we're sewing straight across. You do want to backstitch at both ends. Then go ahead and take the other side of your interior, and remember on this one we're going to leave a 4-inch opening. So I'm just going to stop right where that little hash mark is that I made, and I want to backstitch there. And I'll leave this opening right here where I have those X's, and now we'll sew the other side. Again, backstitch. After sewing those two seams, we want to do a little bit of pressing. On the side where we stitched all the way across, we want to press that seam down towards the bottom of the interior. And then on the side where we left the opening, we want to press that seam up towards the top of the interior. Next, you want to go ahead and take the piece that you cut out for your card slot, lay it down on your work surface so that the 4 1/4 inch side is going this way and the 4 1/2 inch side is going this way. You want to fold it right sides together with the two raw edges of the 4 1/4 inch side touching. I do like to go in and mark some stitching lines. This is optional. You don't actually have to do this if you don't want to. So I'm just going to mark the 1/4 inch seam on both sides. And then once I have those seam lines marked in, I'll just go ahead and hold everything together with a couple of wonder clips. And then you want to sew this piece with your 1/4 inch seams with a stitch length of 2.6, and I am going to go ahead and do that off camera. I have those side seams stitched, and I did back stitch at both ends. You just want to go ahead and cut a little angle in the top. This is where the fold is. Make sure that you don't clip through your stitching. After you've clipped those angles in there, you just want to go ahead and open up this seam and just press it down. And you'll do that on both sides. Then turn the card slot right side out. And you can use your point turner to gently push out those corners. Be careful that you don't poke through your stitching. You want to roll these seams so that the seam is laying right on the top there. And then you'll go ahead and press the card slot. Take the side of the interior that you did not leave an opening in, and we want to mark a line that's 1 3/4 inches down from this facing right here. So you'll take your erasable marking tool and just draw a line. Then we need to find the center of this piece right here. So you're just going to take it and fold it in half. And now you have your center, so you just want to mark a little mark right there for the center of the interior piece. Then you'll take the card slot piece and do the same thing. Fold it in half, mark the center, and now you want to take the card slot and you want to place the raw edge right up against this line, matching the center marks. And you can hold this in place with either a couple of clips or a couple of pins. And at the sewing machine, we want to sew 1/4 inch away from this raw edge with a stitch length of 2.6. Once again, I'm sewing 1/4 inch away from this raw edge here with a stitch length of 2.6, and you do want to back stitch at both ends. Now we just want to clip some angles in these corners right here. Be careful, as always, not to cut into your stitching. Just like that. And then the next thing that we want to do is we want to trim this seam allowance down to about 1/8 of an inch. So if I do it from this side, I'll avoid cutting into any of my other fabric. So just like that. Then you're going to take the pocket, and you want the top of the pocket here, the top of the fold in the pocket, to be touching the bottom of that facing. And then you're going to press that in place. After you have the card slot pressed into place, you can go ahead and hold it with a couple of pins. And then we're going to stitch around the card slot. So you'll want to stitch 1/8 inch away from the edge, and you'll stop before you get 1/4 inch away from this bottom edge here. And then you'll pivot, you'll stitch 1/4 inch away from the edge, and you'll stitch to within 1/8 inch of this side right here, pivot, and then we're going to sew 1/8 inch away from this side here. I'm set at a stitch length of 3.0, And I'm just going to start that top stitching 1/8 of an inch away from the edge, and I am going to back stitch. And I'm pivoting about 1/4 of an inch away from that bottom there. I'm going to stitch across the bottom. And I'm going to stop about 1/8 of an inch away from the other side, pivot, and stitch up the side. And then back stitch one more time. This is step 3, preparing the zipper. You'll want to have your zipper pull installed, and you also want to stitch across the bottom of the zipper across the zipper teeth. I've done mine on machine, and you can see it easier here from the back. You could also do this by hand if you like. Now, just a quick word about sewing over zipper teeth. You never, never, never sew over middle zipper teeth. This is a nylon coil zipper, and most machines will sew over it. If you want, you could do a little test with your machine before you do so. If you're worried about sewing over the zipper teeth, what you can do is hand crank your machine with your hand wheel. So you won't use the foot pedal, you'll just turn the hand wheel towards you and the needle will go up and down over the teeth. The next thing that you want to do is mark 1 inch down from the top of the zipper. And you're just going to mark straight across. After you have your marks in place, you're going to take the zipper tape and fold it back so that the wrong sides of the zipper tape are together, just like this. Then you're going to take the end of the zipper and you're going to fold it up at a 45-degree angle so that the zipper teeth are sitting right on the line that you marked. So it should look just like this. Then you can take a glass head pin and hold it in place. Then you'll do exactly the same thing to the other side. You're going to fold back on that line with the wrong sides of the zipper tape together, and then you're going to fold the end of the zipper up at a 45-degree angle so that the folded line is sitting right below those zipper teeth. And again, you'll hold that in with a pin. Now you need to go and stitch this in place, and I like to just go ahead and do it with some hand stitching. You can stitch it by machine if you like. Before you stitch it, you just want to make sure that the tops of those zippers are even with each other. So both of these sides should be even. This is step 4, installing the zipper. So you'll need one of your exterior pieces right now, plus your zipper. You want to open the zipper all the way. Now we want to place the zipper, the right side of the zipper to the right side of the exterior, and you want to start with this side of the zipper right here. So we'll turn it over this way so that they're right sides together. Now if you remember, at the beginning of the video we made these 2 marks. So I'm referring to this mark here and this one here. Both of these marks are 1/4 of an inch away from the side. We want the zipper to be within these markings right here. We also want to make sure that the end of the zipper does not extend past the 1/4 inch seam line right here. So we're going to start by placing this with the edge of the zipper tape even with the edge of the exterior, and then you can look underneath here and just move the zipper teeth over towards that 1/4 inch mark, making sure that the zipper teeth are right inside that mark. So I can go a little bit closer. And once you have it lined up correctly, you can go ahead and put in one of the pins. Now you can clip this if you like. I like to use the glass head pins right here. And then you'll just pin along the top. And then as I get closer to this 1/4 inch mark, what I want to do is angle the zipper down to about a 45-degree angle. It's actually going to be a little bit more than a 45-degree angle because I don't want the edge of this zipper here to be farther than the 1/4 inch seam line. So this section of the zipper right here, as you fold it down, needs to be 1/4 inch away from this edge and away from this curve right here. So that looks pretty good to me. So I'm just going to pick it up and put in another pin. And then I'm going to put in another pin just to hold the tail out of the way. So one more pin right here. And then what you can do is just turn it over. You want to make sure that the zipper is 1/4 inch away from the edge. So I'm just putting this pin in right here along that folded zipper just so that I can see where it's lining up on this side. And I can see that yes, the fold in that zipper is within this 1/4 inch marking right here, and it's also within the 1/4 inch seam allowance on the curve. Once the zipper is clipped into place, you'll take the interior side that has the card slot pocket on it. You want to put it right sides together with the exterior. You're going to line up this long edge and you're going to line up these curved edges. So go ahead and hold everything together with either pins or clips. Make sure all of the edges are even. I like to do the sides first. Make sure that all of the top edges are even. The zipper is being sandwiched in between both the interior and the exterior pieces. And now that that's all pinned into place, we can go over to the sewing machine and sew it. I will be sewing with a stitch length of 2.6 and the seam allowance will be 1/4 inch. You want to start right over here at the side where the curve is. You should be using a zipper foot to do this, and the foot that I have on my machine is narrow enough for me to sew the zipper on. So you want to backstitch, and always remove your pins. You never want to sew over a pin. Just go slowly around your curve. If you need to pivot, you can go ahead and pivot. And then once you get to the top, you can pivot and start sewing straight across. And now that I'm at the other side where the curve is, I'll pivot again, and I'll start sewing down the other side of the curve. Just work your way slowly around that curve. And then backstitch at the end. After those two sections are sewn into place, you can go ahead and take your scissors and trim back the tail of that zipper. Then you also want to clip off these corners here at a diagonal And as always, make sure that you don't clip through your stitching. Now, I do not clip these curves here. It's really not necessary. If you want to, you can go ahead and clip them, but it's not necessary. Then you're going to turn this so that the pieces are right side out. You want to take this pin out that was holding the tail, and then you can take your point turner and just gently push out those corners at the top on both sides. And then for the curve section, all I do is roll that curve so that the seam line is sitting right on the top. And then you want to go and press everything. So you press the curves on both sides, and you want to press along the top of the zipper. So just make sure that everything is pulled out nicely and press. Same thing on this side, just roll that seam up so that the seam is sitting right on the top, and then press it down. Now we can install the other side of the zipper, and it's a little bit tricky, but if you do it the way I show you, you're not going to have any problems. So you want to take that other exterior piece, and then you want to take the exterior piece that already has the zipper sewn in on one side, and you want to lay it down on top of this exterior piece right here, and the zipper laying just like this. Then you're going to pick up this end of the zipper, and you want to turn it under, just like this. And we're going to place the edge of the zipper teeth 1/4 of an inch away from the edge, making sure that it's within that guideline that we marked. So if you look at it from this side, you can see I'm not quite at the guideline. I'm a little bit farther away. So I'll just push it in a little bit closer to the guideline. And now my zipper teeth are right within that 1/4 inch mark. Once I have that in the right spot, then I can go ahead and clip across the top. And when I get towards this edge, I want to make sure that the fold that's created here in the zipper is within 1/4 of an inch within the edge here, and 1/4 of an inch within the curve here. And once I have it in just the right spot, I can go ahead and put in another pin. And then you can go ahead and look at it from the other side just to make sure that everything is where it should be. You want that zipper to be within those 1/4 inch marks off of the side. I'm going to put one more pin in on this side. Now with the opposite side of the zipper pinned into place, you're going to move this section out of the way right here. And then you'll take the other side of your interior and place that right sides together with the exterior and pin just like we did before. Then after you have that all pinned into place, we can go ahead and sew that side of the zipper in. Once again, I'm sewing with a stitch length of 2.6 and my seam allowance is 1/4 of an inch. And again, you do want to back stitch. And remove your pins. When I get to the top, I will just pivot and sew across. After sewing this side, you can go ahead and trim that zipper tail off right here. And you also want to clip your corners just like you did before. Then you'll turn everything right side out and press. After everything is turned right side out, go ahead and close your zipper. Right now we just want to make sure that everything is lined up properly. This is what your piece should look like from the exterior, and this is what your piece should look like on the interior side. Now we want to press those side seams where the curves are, so you're going to open up each side just like this, and you want to iron these curves open. So you'll iron them open on the 4 sides. So there are 4 seams to be ironed. And then you can go ahead and iron the seams on this side as well. This is step 5, which is sewing the exterior and interior sides together. You want to start by opening up your zipper. It's very important that that's open right now. And you're going to take your exterior sides and place them together. And you want to also place your interior sides together. So this is what you should have now. Then you're going to pick it up, and we want to match up side seams, and we want to match up the seams from the facings. Now because we ironed or pressed those seams on the facings in opposite directions, they should just lock together. So you'll place those seams together, make sure that they're pushed tight up against each other, and put in a pin. And then where you iron those seams open on the side, you want those seams to be all matched up. And once you have them matched, you'll place in a pin. Make sure that the seams are open on both sides, and then place in a pin. Then do the same thing on the other side. You're going to lock the seams of the facing together. And by lock, I mean you just push them and they'll lock together. And then we want to open up the side seams here, match them up, and pin them together. Then you're just going to simply pin all the way around. Make sure that your zipper is tucked in this way. You want to match up all of your edges. Make sure everything's all lined up perfectly. Not really perfectly, but just line them up nicely. You want to pin all the way around. I finished pinning all the way around, and now we can go ahead and sew this. We'll be sewing with a seam allowance of 1/4 of an inch, and we're sewing completely around. We will not be leaving any openings because we already left an opening in the interior for turning the purse. I'll be starting at the bottom of the interior. It really doesn't matter where you start. You can start anywhere you like. And I'll be sewing with a stitch length of 2.6, and you can backstitch if you like. We're just going to sew completely around. Go slow when you get to your curves. Remember that your zipper is tucked underneath here. Make sure that you don't sew over that zipper. And then when you get back to the beginning, just go over a few of the original stitches and backstitch. We want to clip all of these corners now. So you only need to clip on the curve. You just want to clip in about 1/8 of an inch apart, stopping before that stitching. Make sure, of course, that you don't clip through that stitching there. And you'll do this on all 4 curves. After you're done clipping all those curves, we want to press the seam open. I like to take my point turner and I get it in between the 2 layers and I just push it back and forth, and then I can press that seam open with the point turner. Then I can go in with my iron and press. And then I do the same thing. I get it in between the 2 layers and I just ride it along the curve, and then I fold back with the point turner, and then I can press. And you'll do this all the way around until you've ironed the entire seam open. And you only need to iron down one side. That will be enough. After pressing open the seam, we want to turn it right side out. So we need to turn it to this side because we left the opening in the side without the card slot pocket. And it's right here. So you'll just go ahead and reach in and start turning. I like to first get in there with my hands and just push out all those curves with my fingers. And then I'll go ahead and take my point turner, just start pushing them out. This end of the point turner right here is really great for pushing out and rounding out those curves. So you'll just do this all the way around. And then you want to give everything a good pressing. Again, you want to take your seams here and roll them so that the top of the seam, the edge of the seam is laying right on the top there. So you just roll them and then press. And you want to do this all the way around. If you need the point turner to get in there to help you, go ahead and use your point turner. Once you get it looking nice and rounded, that's when you go ahead and press. After pressing, you want to go ahead and close up this opening with some hand stitching. Now we're ready to tuck the interior down inside the purse. So I just grab the 2 sides of the zipper and pull, and then I push the lining down in. And then you want to get in there with your hand and you're going to smooth the lining down in there. Then once I have the lining turned inside the bag, I go ahead and I give the entire piece a really nice pressing. Now if you like, you can top stitch all the way around the top of the purse. This step is actually optional. It doesn't need to be top stitched, but you can top stitch it if you like. We are going to trim down this zipper, and you want to do your top stitching before you trim down this zipper. I'm going to top stitch with a stitch length of 3.0. I like to start at one of the sides. It really doesn't matter which side you start at. So you can go ahead and back stitch. And you just want to stay about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. When you get to the side, you just want to push it under like this. You just want it to be flat under the needle. If you had trimmed the zipper ahead of time, this would be harder to do. Again, just tuck everything so that the side is laying flat under the needle. And when you get back to where you started, just go over those stitches a few times and backstitch. To put on the hardware, I want to trim the tail down to about 2 inches. So the first thing that you want to do is close the zipper completely. And I've already placed a mark right here, which is 2 inches away from this edge. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut straight across. And then you're going to take the zipper, and I want to trim this just a little bit more even here. And you want to fold the zipper tape back on itself, just like this. And then I'll take my end cap and I'll slip it right on the end of that zipper. You want to push it all the way on. And then you're going to take the little screw that comes with the hardware and just set it in there and screw it in. You want to screw it down nice and tight. So now your chatelaine purse is completed, and you can go ahead and add on whatever kind of hardware you want to the end of the zipper. I would love to have you join us over at my Facebook group, which is Rosie and David Patterns. And I want to thank everyone who has supported me by liking my videos and subscribing to my channel. If you're not already a subscriber, I really would love to have you as one. So please like and subscribe.